Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Explode Your Expert Business Show. And today I'm here with the one and only Jessica Zhang. How are you doing, Jessica?
Hi, Simone. I'm doing very well. Thank you. How are you?
I'm incredibly well. Thank you very much. Really excited to talk to
Great.
you about all things career change. I mean, just right now in the moment where we are is a moment where not only people are changing career, the entire world is a bit upside down. It's changing. So I'm really curious to know a bit more about like also what got you to this point and be passionate about this topic. I mean, you had a really successful career and then decided to help other people making career transitions. So where did this passion come from?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Glad to talk about it. Yeah. And Simone, I've always been a very passionate person, and in the degree, people who see me knows me would know that I'm a very adventurous person. So I'm always the one that kind of goes around and do crazy things like bungee jumping and skydiving. In a week I'd be cage diving with the sharks.
Oh my
But
God.
yes, and I'm always on my backpack traveling
Yeah.
around the world. When it comes to my career, I think, I've, in the past 10 years, when I look back, I've kind of taken a very safe approach, a very linear approach, as people would say these days. I've graduated and I've, kind of followed what people think is, the normal job, normal
Yeah.
career path.
What did you graduated
Um,
on? What was your degree on?
Oh, I believe believe it or not, I had a teaching degree, and I also studied business.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I did these two, and I thought, let's just add another one. So I did a master's degree in project management.
Why not?
Exactly. I was like, I can't figure out what I would like to do, so just do
Mhm.
another degree, and
Yeah.
maybe the path will become clearer. So yeah, this is also how I came to the UK from China. Yeah.
Right,
So I
right. And so then what kind of job roles did you have, or what kind of companies did you work with? I'm curious to understand a bit more. So that part of your story.
Yeah, right. So I've kind of worked my way up the career ladder within corporate. So from when I graduated with my postgraduate to working my way to one of the most prestigious consultancy firm as a
Hmm.
management consultant. It took me about 5-6 years. So I've kind of progressed really fast.
Wow.
So I worked for companies, flagship companies, usually in engineering, and also
Yeah.
the consultancy firms. So yeah, very kind of steady but fast approach kind of to get up there.
I'm curious now. What do you think was the secret of this fast progression for you? Because there are a lot of people that might work for 20 years in companies and they will just achieve half of what you've achieved in 5 years. So what was your mentality or your mindset or your secret to get this kind of results in the places where you were working in?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Now you get me thinking. I think one of the things around intention of, I need to be like driving good cars. I need to be bringing home money. I want to, be drinking champagne by the pool, because that's what a consultancy life is. People like
Mhm.
party around, and they like wear expensive watches. And that was for a long time was my dream, and my career was driven by that. I want to be in the
Mhm.
top 3%. And that's how I can progress to these
Mhm. Mhm.
careers often people dream of and they fight over.
Oh, so you had this mindset of I want to be the top, like I want to be in the top, which actually is really interesting how your linear career progression contradicts a bit more what you were doing outside your career, which is backpacking, going traveling, shark cage diving, and all this kind of stuff. Uh, Like you were almost living. How did you combine together these two lives?
Um, well, I think, it's interesting. It's like I've been on this boat which has gone really steady. cruising along. And on one day the boat kind of hit this iceberg and it flipped and it kind of wrecked, and this is where I kind of like I start to like I got in the water and I start to like kind of find my way and start to swim along, and really to put effort in, yeah, I think one of the things is with successful people, it doesn't take a lot for them to actually come to that realization. Things in life could happen because often they've sacrificed so much in their life to be able to get to that successful point, that they've lost touch with who they are, their friends and families. They become a bit of a robot, and one day before they knew it, something happened in their life and they were like, what am I doing, right? Yeah, so that's what kind of happened to me in a way. But also, when it did happen, it was the best thing that's happened to me. Whatever has been kind of sacrificed and that eventually I lost was the best thing, because I start now to think about my bigger life purposes, which career, my family, friends are all part of this, under this bigger umbrella of
it's
the
not
purpose.
just it was not just like work focused and I need to be the top and that's it, and everything else doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, I think we've all most of us have gone through that path.
True. In particular, someone is driven. Like there are a lot of people that are driven. They want to be. I can definitely relate. Everything I do, I always want to be the best. Everything I do. And if I'm not, and it is easy to lose track of other things that are important and just get tunnel focused on. This is my goal. Get out of the way, because I'm gonna get there.
Absolutely, yeah. Get
So
a very short-sighted.
What was a turning point for you? So you mentioned that something happened. What was that turning point for you?
So privately, I think there's a combination of things. In my private life, there was something happened, a very important person I've kind of lost along the way, let's say. And also I've since I've been at that top tier consulting firm, I was always looking around. I was like, do I want the next promotion? And I thought, no, not really. I don't want my boss's job. So what do I do now, right? I don't want to be on my level, and I don't want to take a demotion. I don't want to go anywhere else. It's like, where is I've kind of hit a ceiling to me, and I just thought this path, there's nowhere else to go. So that's kind of the work related reasons as well, and through self-awareness and self-reflection, I've started to realize that what's missing in my career was not the the skill, the challenge. It's not that I can't do the job. It's more that I don't find the deeper meaning of my job and how it's going to help other people, and that's the key thing.
So now you then went through a period of transition to find the things that you wanted to do next. How was that period of transition for you? Because after living a life where you're kind of set on your path, and now you're looking around and it's like, oh, I got the word. Like, how did you face that situation? With excitement? There was fear. Personally, how was that for you?
I think it was, I think for me, because I'm so used to taking that steady approach that even when I jumped the boat, I was still taking a steady approach. I was like, hold on a second, I'm not going to just like lose my job and live on the street the next day. I'm going to slowly wind down. And this is kind of what I'm doing right now. So I no longer, I no longer just have one job that frustrates me. I have a 9-to-5 job. So I'm still a strategy manager for one of the large companies. And in the meantime, I have my own business. So I think like for me, it's not about giving away everything that you have, because sometimes the reason that people get stuck is that they think, oh my gosh, I have to just quit everything.
Yes.
Right. And it's the point that you don't have to do it. And I don't recommend people to do it, right? For people who's, slightly more or less reverse, I would say actually plan your way out. There's no rush. especially this economy with what's going on right now.
I totally agree with you. I'm 100% with you. Like one of the biggest learning experiences I had is that when I quit everything, and then 8 months later, I was living on the street. So that didn't work out too well. This is if someone had just have told me, you know what, you can just take your time and transition out of a role or create something. The two things can coexist. No one just ever told me, and so I just went off what was the people that were saying I was following at the moment. That were saying, burn the bridges. You want to start it now. Because you believe you can achieve it. Yeah, but don't be stupid with that. So it is a balance. So you work with a lot of women that want to have this career transition, that wants to have this career change, high flying, really successful, that they realize that there is something missing, like you realized for yourself. What are the biggest challenges for them when they have to make a different decision or a career transition?
Right. Yeah. So traditionally, with the career transition, people would like to change their careers. There are three big challenges. And then these three big challenges are, they don't know what else to do. It's as simple as that. I don't know what other boat I can jump into. And that often stops them. And then the other thing is, okay, they might know, but the whole thing is just so overwhelming.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's just so different from what they're used to. And then that's the second thing. And then the third thing is around procrastination. So yeah, I know what I want to do. I feel like I can do it, but somehow you just, keep getting stuck in that same situation for years. Plenty of people, and they're super aware. Often the first question I ask people is, how long have you been stuck? And the answer is often, yes. It's not yesterday, it's not months ago. Yeah.
So it is about getting unstuck, and it is about getting done what you wanted to do and stop the procrastination. Like if you want something, of course you can do it gradually, but some steps you got to take. You can't just talk about it or dream about it and then just magically expect something is going to happen. That's in business, that's in career, in anything. So I know you have developed a unique system, a unique model to help people, in particular high achieving professionals, to transition in their career. What did you find? Because there are a lot of resources out there, CV writing workshops, find your purpose, all this kind of stuff. But what is that you find that is missing with all the things that are available out there that prompt you to say, actually, I need to create something different? What was the missing piece?
Absolutely. Yes. So the missing piece was identified through me going through that journey myself and through me working with other high achievers. So I identified that, there's actually something, even more challenging for the high achievers on top of the three things that I've just described.
Right.
So the first thing is around that these people who get stuck, along the line, they have sacrificed a lot in their lives to get to where they are. So along the way, because of all these little sacrifices, they've kind of lost touch with what's really important for them. So my coaching program is there, the first step for me is really to understand who they are as a person, and really to help them connect with that lost identity that they have, that they're no longer aware of. So I take people through the kind of the traditional topics around career transition, which is find your purpose, identify your talent, understand your passion, but also more important for me is to help them understand their identity, what they would like to let go of in their identity, and help them to be ready for it. So that's kind of the first thing I do, and I spend a lot of time with coaching.
Before you go ahead with the next part, this is fascinating conversation. It is so easy, and I can definitely see it, even if I never had like a proper career. but it's so easy to attach your identity to what you do, in particular when you care a lot and you put a lot on the line. I think that as a business owner, I can see that. I had moments where I would say, well, if my business fails or poof, who am I? Because I then ended up attaching my identity to the business just because I just put so many hours, so much sweat, so many tears into it, and it just became a part of me, and it became such an obsession that became the biggest part of me. And I guess that's something similar to what happens when you're dedicating your entire life or to a path or to a career, and that's been your goal. That becomes your identity. Am I
Right,
correct
yeah,
saying that?
exactly, Simone, exactly. And I wouldn't say it's necessarily a bad thing. I think it's perfectly, and we all do that. We all get attached to, work if we're passionate about it, and it's perfectly fine. I think at this point, I use one of the quotes from Les Brown, who is one of my favorite speakers.
Mm-hmm.
So he says, kind of like judge yourself not from your achievement, but from the person you've become. So what this to me means is, you can identify yourself with work as long as it makes you feel good as a person, right?
Yeah.
If the work itself you identify with is just based on materialism and on money and on some stuff that come out of greed, then you don't want to be identified with that, because you're not a good person in achieving that.
Yeah, that's so powerful. That's so true. I think a lot of food for thought for everyone listening right now or watching. Okay, so that's number one. The one thing that I find different, which is really knowing yourself and finding your real identity, which separated from what you're doing or can be part of what you're doing, but finding your real identity. What's next? What is that you do different that you find that is not done mainstream out there in career transition processes?
Right. I think the second point is around the high achievers. They usually, because they have gone through such a linear path, they've kind of had this tunnel vision that the career should just be like that. Even if they jump boat, they're like, oh my gosh, I've got to start again with another thing. What happened to my past experience? So it's helping them to see that actually you don't give away all your skills. It's helping them identify the unique fear that might have around this whole inventory of, experience and skills and contexts, but structuring their unique career transition path around what they have, and then figure out different options of how they can, move on to another area without sacrificing and giving away everything. And also helping them realize what are some of the resources and skills that could help them achieve it. Because it is important that after the coaching program, let's say, they have that supporting system to keep them going this long journey.
I think so many people, which is really fascinating when you are in business, but even if you're doing something else. Like, I've helped a lot of people start their businesses coming from a career, and one of the things that I found that happens more often if someone comes from a career background, not a business background, and they're starting for the first time, is that almost they have this tendency to eliminate and separate themselves from their previous career. And it's almost like what you've done for the past 15 years doesn't count anymore. Just
Absolutely.
like, but it does, because then you've done it. Like, no one can take that away from you. If you've achieved certain results in your companies, if you've worked with certain organizations, if you've worked on certain projects, the skills and the credibility that you have achieved by working in those projects, is always with you.
Absolutely.
So why do you think when people reinvent, that's the question I want to ask you, because why do you think when people go through this process of reinvention, whether it's starting a career or starting a business, because they follow the linear path, then why do you think is that they tend to forget or just push away what they've done before and not integrate it?
Right. I think, again, a lot of that is related to identities, because you think that this is who you are. Today I'm a businessman. And then tomorrow I want to be an artist. it's
Mm,
two
mm.
different people. If I think about the artist, I don't see myself as an artist, and how would somebody even take me on as an artist, right? And you often forget that it's you've just kind of associated yourself with that old identity that you no longer want to be, and you're reaffirming that by kind of like being reminding yourself of who you are, and the artist is somebody who's different. And I think it's this trend that's going on in the career world, that so there's a figure I'd like to share with you, which is on average a person changed their career between 4 to 8 times in their lifetime in
Yeah,
our generation at the
yeah.
moment. So just if you multiply that, there's plenty of jobs out there, and plenty of people like us who are looking for a career, a new career, and that just means there's so much opportunity out there for us to put ourselves in front of
Yeah,
people and
yeah,
potential organizational, set up your own business. So yeah, so I think like letting go of identity is so important, and just realizing that career is no longer linear these days. People jump boat all the time. They start new
hmm.
things, the next minute they work for uh, another totally different topic. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. It's almost like being able to recognize, as you mentioned, that your identity, as we discussed, is not attached to your career and what you've done, but also is about remembering that this is part of you at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And when you are going somewhere else, whether it's a company, whether you're starting a business, whether it's whatever project you want to do, then is recognizing that you have those skills and that you have this credibility, that you have worked on this project, and that's
Mm-hmm.
okay to integrate them in the next level of your career. So that's fascinating. Is there anything else that we might have missed in this conversation before we wrap up on it, like what you find that is really important, like some of the things that you do that are different from what's mainstream out there in terms of careers change that we have not mentioned so far?
I think one of the other thing is around the high achievers. They tend to have gone through this linear path, so they kind of have been quite limited to, maybe 2 or 3 fields in their career so far, myself included. Although I've changed my job maybe 10 times, um, but I've always found myself in the same field, and I thought, gosh, for me to get out of here must be so hard because I've never tried anything else. All my
Hmm.
life I've
Hmm.
been living as a businesswoman, um, and yeah, for me to change is very different, and very difficult. So limited exposure, and because you're so limited in one area, you don't know what other job is out there. You
True.
don't know if there's before I got into this, I didn't know half of the job that existed that I know now.
Hmm.
And every day there's new jobs coming out because people just you know went off and created their own careers,
Hmm.
own niche. So one of the things I work with is also kind of unblocking that tunnel vision and really
Yeah,
get them out there to believe that you can invent a career tomorrow if you want it. If you're highly successful, you're highly creative, you're achiever, right? Your chance of success in whatever you believe is much harder, and it's about
true.
unleashing that potential in their head for them and get them out there to like talk to these people to start their first step on their career
Yeah,
transition.
yeah.
That's the most exciting thing.
Like it is fascinating on how, when you're working with the high achievers, it's less a matter of the how, like the how comes, or like they're not the kind of people that need a lot of support or encouragement, but sometimes what they need is just a change in perspective,
Right.
because they can
Totally.
just be so focused on their goals and so focused on what they want to achieve that that they are missing out on a lot of other things that are happening.
Yes.
So
Totally.
is important, then as soon as you're able to unlock this part and say, oh, have you looked down there, it's like, oh my god, this is what I can do, and then they can just go off as like a run like a train,
Yeah.
because that's what they
Yeah.
do. It's like
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I think for me, because I've gone through that journey, I
yeah,
used to be one of them.
yeah,
I
yeah,
kind of knew the obvious white spots or blind spots, where I could ask a question and they kind of like, ooh, I didn't think about
I hadn't
that.
thought about that. Yeah.
Yes, yes. I think that resonance is really important because, I did come through in my journey of becoming a coach, many traditional life coaches who kind of taught me the stuff I already know. And the ones that I really find resonating are the ones that came from what I came from, that's gone through this journey and being frustrated as much as I have, being successful as much as I have. That totally gets me. And this, I think, is really, really hard to find. And I'd encourage people to work with similar people with similar paths.
They can understand them.
Mm.
Absolutely, that's very powerful. That's really important. So now before we wrap up, I always ask my guests, all our guests on the show, it's a session called the Lifting the Veil, and I will ask you to share either a book or an app or a practice, something that you found recently, which is worth sharing. Is there anything in particular that a book, an app, a practice that stood out for you that say, oh my God, people need to know about this?
Yeah, right. So I think for me, maybe not recently, but it's a book that I would always recommend to people. I think it's, it sits on my bookshelf all the time, which is this Les Brown, Live Your Dreams. Very natural man, very successful, came from this little boy who was really timid, really shy, who didn't believe that he could be a speaker. He loves, having a conversation and speak until he met his mentor. So I think I learned lots from this book. It's really inspiring. It's got many, inspiring, thoughts around change, about identity, about following your uniqueness and really believing yourself. And I'd recommend everybody to, who's thinking about career change, to read this book.
Yeah, Live Your Dreams, Les Brown. I read it too. Incredible book. Absolutely incredible. Love it. So Jessica, I know we've been talking about the way you work. We've been talking about career transition. If someone is listening to this episode and they want to say, actually, I would love to know more about either follow you or work with you, where's the best place where they can, where our listeners can reach out to you?
Yeah, so I would say my website called Life of Purposes. It's a funny name. I actually picked it many years ago without even knowing what the hell am I going to do. But yeah, now I've connected the dots. But yeah, it's called.
It was the seed for oh my God. Okay,
Absolutely.
Life of Purposes.
Yes, that would be the website to go for. Yeah.
All right, that's brilliant. So Life of Purposes, and then there are going to be also Jessica's social media link in the show notes. So make sure that you connect with Jessica, visit their website. And then if you are in a position where you're like, I gotta change my career, I gotta make this transition. I'm a high achiever, I'm a high flyer in what I do, but I really don't know what to do next, or you need a change of perspective, then absolutely make sure you get in touch, and she is the right person for you. Jessica, thank you very much for being here on the show with us today.
Thank you for having me, Simone. It's my pleasure.
All right. Thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here today. If you enjoyed this episode, two things to do. One is subscribe so then you don't miss any other incredible episode, and also leave us a review. It helps a lot. It helps our guests to know what they enjoy, which part of the interview you enjoy the most. So give us a review. Tell us which part you enjoy the most. Also, it's important for our ranking on iTunes. The more reviews you give us, the more listeners we can get. It means that the more incredible guests like Jessica we can have on the show. And as well, the third reason why is really good for my ego. I really like a good review. So if you just want to give me a personal favor, then give me the review, and I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Again, I'll see you next time for another episode of Explode Your Expert Business Show, and have a fantastic day. Ciao.
Thank you. Ciao, ciao.